The console version of Rust has some massive plans for the year 2023, and because it is already December of 2022, let's talk about those plans. Let's talk about whether the console version of Rust is going to succeed in the upcoming year, or whether it is going to crash and burn harder than the German national team in the World Cup, that is. So let's get into it. Let's start talking, and let's kick off with the one thing that everybody cares about: community servers. So community servers are something that were supposed to come out for the console version of Rust in 2021, and unfortunately, as we stand in the end of 2022, all they're doing is showing us a few screenshots on the dev blog. And while it is a good thing to see, I do like to see these screenshots. I had a conversation with Pedro about community servers. It seems like everything's somewhat coming together finally after a year and a half worth of delays. These screenshots are very easy to mock up, and they don't actually mean much of anything in my opinion. So if you look at these screenshots, all they show is a few basic tabs. There's something that you can see players in game. You can ban players, give them VIP access. You get some tools. Those tools would be like God mode, no clip teleportation. You got zoning, which means you can set safe zones and PvP zones and stuff like that. But overall, these tools aren't all that expansive, and we don't even have any proof that they work. Now, I assume that they work in some sort of standard, but again, if all that was left to do was just to optimize the servers, I'm sure at this point they would have released them. I think there's some issues with the tools or something going on behind the scenes that we're not seeing. So whether or not community servers come out in 2023, I think ultimately this is going to be known as a big L for D11 and the console version of Rust. It's been 1.5 years since they promised they were coming out in a month. And as things stand, that there's just no way to justify this, in my opinion. Explain that the servers can't handle it, the costs are going to be too high, things like that, but it still just doesn't make sense to me. They should be able to release community servers for 10 people for pretty low cost, even if they have to subsidize it or not take any profits themselves. The fact that they're still not here a year and a half later shows me that there's something else going on behind the scenes that we're not really getting access to. So whether or not they release community servers in 2023, I don't think they're going to be the saviors that players are hoping for. Looking at the screenshots that were shown in the dev blog, I don't see anything that talks about logs or any way to track what players are doing or figure out who killed who or what's been going on here or there. It just looks like a bunch of standards and settings that you can tweak, which is really nice. But when it comes down to this player killed me, or these people were on a team, or these people all gave each other loot and they were teaming up when they're not supposed to, you need logs. You can't rely on admins. You can't rely on reports. You need logs of that stuff. You need some sort of way to track it. And from what I can see, it just doesn't look like there's that way in here. You've got maintenance tools, gameplay extras, communication access. Maybe gameplay would have those logs, but if they don't have those logs, I think it's going to be a massive failure that people are going to end up just not caring about community servers all that much. And even if they do have the logs, I think ultimately community servers are cursed just because people have been waiting for them for so long. So what can you do? Now, some other things that are coming out, we've got the electricity branch that has now been released to staging. People are loving that, and it looks like electricity is finally going to be coming to the main branch in early 2023. This is obviously a huge win because it really changes the dynamics of the game. It opens up a lot more opportunities for players, and I think electricity is going to be registered as a win for people in 2023. Now, it was supposed to release in 2021 along with the community servers. The thing is, though, people don't care as much about electricity, and once it comes, I think then people are going to care a lot more about it. So it hasn't sort of registered as hard of a loss as community servers did, and at the same time, I think people are just excited to see it come back. They're excited to play with it. It's something new. It's going to add new aspects to the game. It's going to make the game feel fresh again when a lot of people have just been doing the same old thing for the last year and a half. I think overall, it's going to be a nice start to 2023. It's going to give people a breath of fresh air, and I think this is actually going to see the Rust console community grow. Well, I don't think community servers are going to show the same thing. Now, moving on to some other things that are coming, we've got stuff like Horsepocalypse, which would be a branch that's going to be releasing horses into the world. And one thing about Horsepocalypse, I've heard some rumors that with Horsepocalypse, you're going to get horses that are rideable and you're going to get sharks. I think if they add sharks, that would be a massive L because we don't need things in the water killing us. There's not enough stuff in the water going on already. Sharks aren't going to add anything to that. I don't think it's something that we should see until we're seeing submarines and underwater labs and a more vibrant vibrant life out there on the ocean. I think sharks being added with Horse Apocalypse would be too soon, but I think adding horses is going to be a massive win. People are going to like that. Being able to transverse the map faster, that's going to add a lot to the game. It's going to mean people can roam more efficiently. It's going to mean if you're in a hostile area, it's not going to be as hostile, but for people who like to sort of corner up in a low access area, a place that no one visits, it's going to mean that people are more likely to visit you now. So for some players, it's going to be a loss. It's going to be an L, but I think for a lot of people, that's going to be a W. And I think a lot of people are looking forward to that in 2023. So assuming that they managed to make it happen, which at this point, given what I've seen with Cargo Ship and some of these other like boats and everything like that, I think this is definitely going to happen in 2023. I think when horses come out, it's probably going to be late to mid-spring. That would be my guess. So probably in, 4 to 5 months from now, that would be when I'd guess that Horse Apocalypse would come out, but it could come later, could come earlier. Obviously, I'm not basing this on anything. But I think Horse Apocalypse is going to be a big win. I don't think it's going to be bringing players back into the game, but I think it will mean that players who are currently playing the game will play it longer because now their ability to roam is just a lot bigger. They're going to be able to roam easier, and it's going to mean that later into Wipe, there's going to be a little bit more going on servers. You're not going to have as many dead servers, which overall is a really big positive for the community because one of the biggest things that I'm worried about in 2023 is dead servers. The biggest problem I have right now when I play Rust is I get onto a monthly server, I build up my base, I get everything going. Once it feels like I've hit that sweet spot where it feels like everything's sort of going right, I've got a lot of tier 3 gear, I'm not as worried about losing it. I'm just going out ready to roam, ready to rock and roll. I'm not worried about gear. There's no gear fear or anything like that. The server feels like it's dead already. And I found myself after Wipe like that, just not wanting to get back into the game because it's like, what's the point? By the time I get to a point where I can actually PvP and compete with these players who are just clapping me hard from behind, of course, it is too late. They're gone. They've left. It's a classic pump and dump. I got pumped, dumped, and I don't even get to do it to anybody in return. It is awful. So my hope would be with horses and stuff like that when it comes out, people are going to be able to transverse the map a lot faster. And what that means is even if it's a lower population server, the people who like to roam, the people who are the Chads, the people who don't keep the server alive, but at the same time, they're not out there raiding everybody and just completely destroying the server, are going to be able to stay on, which is going to give players still that challenge that exists. And you're still going to have that sort of PvP element always in the background because let's face it, the biggest thing about Rust, the most exciting thing about Rust is the fact that you can lose everything. Your base could be taken from you. Your body can be taken from you. Your shirt, your shoes, everything that you own in the game can be taken from you. And I don't know why I reference shirt and shoes. Those are two of the easiest things to get. If you're having trouble with that, that's a major L for you. But let's be honest. It's one of those things that gear fear. That's what makes the game so exciting. And once you get to the point where it's just you and a few people you know on a server, you lose that excitement. So I think Horse Apocalypse has the potential to keep players in the game longer, keep that gear fear, that sort of like excitement there longer, and keep servers alive longer, which means it's better for all of us. There's another update that's called Cultivator. I'm not 100% sure what that references. There are some monuments in the PC version Rust I think Cultivator could be referencing, but all of those monuments are, in my opinion, just failures. I don't think there's anything good that came out of them. I don't think those are monuments that people like. I don't think those are monuments that people use. So I'm not even going to comment on that. I'd hope that D11 isn't going to be bringing in dead monuments. One thing I know they do plan to bring in is Power Plant. I'm not 100% sure when they bring that in, but that's going to be a nice breath of fresh air. One of the problems that we do have, and I did an interview with Pedro, you can go back and see it, is there's a lot of monuments that exist in the game, but a lot of the time the maps, because they're not randomly generated, which again, major L, that's besides the point anyways, the maps are too small, right? Like all the monuments can't fit on the map, so you only get a certain subset of monuments on the maps, which means even if they do add more monuments, players aren't going to get all of them in their game, which I think is still going to just keep drawing people away from the game. If you get onto a monthly server, and a lot of people want to play monthlies, right? If you get onto a monthly server, you play that server, and then next wipe, you get the same monuments, and there's monuments missing that you want to play that aren't on that server. Or if, hey, you were on a really good map last server, or last wipe, then it switches over and this map just sucks, people leave the game because they feel like their progress has been completely destroyed. They feel like they grinded it all out. They grinded their BPs at the end of the wipe for nothing because now they've got a map that they just don't want to play. And not having all the monuments on a map is one of the things that I think needs to be fixed, and it's something that I haven't heard any talk from D11 of fixing. There's no talk of increasing map sizes or anything like that. They say it's something that would be extremely hard for them to do. I think that is something that it could Things like this, well, they don't seem like big components. They don't seem like something that would kill the game. I think they could easily kill the game in 2023, right? When you got a map that just doesn't have all the monuments people want, a lot of people are going to jump over to a new game. When people like build their base and then that area dies out, they're not going to go roaming somewhere that takes them 30 minutes to get to. They're just going to leave and go to another game. Things like that really do kill the game, because as that happens, as more players leave, more players that were likely to stay start to leave too, right? Like I would like to play a full wipe. I love to play a full wipe. I love to log in every weekend, get a couple hours of PvP in, stuff like that. Even if, right, build a big base, play for a week. I sort of get bored of it, decide, hey, I'm not going to main for the rest of the month. I usually set up a smaller base, put my loot into it, and just see how long I can last. Usually it's a small bunker base. I've got a bunch of build videos, check them out. But I do something like that, right, and I keep playing through the wipe, and I'm still there. What happens, though, is when too many people leave the server, I leave too, because it's just, I log in, I want to get a little bit of PvP down. I'm not a big farming person. I think a lot of people are like that. They like to run monuments, get a little bit of excitement, feel a little bit of action, right? And when you don't get that, you just bail. And the second you bail from the game, the second you're out of Rust for a week or 2 weeks playing something else, maining something else, you start to forget the controls. And then when one of these chads comes up on you and just blows you away, you figure, hey, what's the point? I'm going back to Call of Duty. I'm going back to Minecraft, or I don't know, whatever, My Little Pony, whatever random games you idiots are playing. And by idiots, I mean amazing people that hit the subscribe button. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is I think that Rust has a decent outlook for 2023, especially if they can release community servers and this power surge early, follow up with a horse release, follow up with some new monuments, and then follow up with bigger maps and things that are going to keep players playing longer. Also, when a new monument is introduced, there should be something that ensures that that new monument is on every single map. Also, I do like the fact that community managers, specifically Pedro, like he came and talked to me. We had a really good conversation. I love the fact that things like that are going on, even if they don't involve me. I love the fact that they keep coming up with sort of new and inventive skins. I think the communication has gotten a lot better, and I think the fact that they're not setting deadlines like, hey, we're going to release Power Surge tomorrow, and then they just keep missing it for a year and a half. I think that's a really good thing, because when those events happen, when those things happen, it really degrades the connection between the community and the game developers. I think the damage that was done from community servers and the electricity branch not being released is something that's going to plague the console version of Rust and even the main PC version of Rust for a long, long time. And people are saying the PC version of Rust isn't connected, but there's a lot of people who don't know that, and they hold the face bunch responsible for that. I've talked to people who say I will never touch Rust again because of what happened with the console edition of Rust, and they're talking about PC too. They're like, I sold my skins. I'm just done with both of them. I'm tired of this game. I hate the fact that developers sold something to the console community and then lied about it. And I think that's something that is going to plague, I think is going to plague Rust as a whole, the whole just game for a long, long time. But I think that a lot of steps have been made to make sure that things like this don't happen again, and that these miscommunications are greatly reduced, because I haven't seen them happening. A lot of complaints that people have, they're from way in the past, or they're from bugs that exist. And bugs, that's a fact of life, but hopefully, from what I've seen, it looks like D11 really is working along. They're working to patch a lot of the bugs in the game, and they're working to patch a lot of the issues with invalids and things like that that players have had. To be honest, right now, I think Rust isn't as good as something like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, but it's not so far behind that I'd say it's unacceptable. I think Rust is in a decent place when it comes to bugs and things like that, or that the whole gaming industry as a whole is in a horrible place when it comes to bugs, and that D11 falls into the acceptable range because of that. So that's where we stand with the console version of Rust in 2023. Until next time, peace.